We want to continue our coverage here of this trial and bring in attorney and legal analyst Brian Silber. Thank you so much for being here with us on Live Now from Fox. And today was another interesting day for Alex Murdaugh there on the stand. We, in the beginning, heard about his finances as well as his pattern of lying.
So I missed the testimony about his finances, but I got to tell you, this is one of the more intriguing trials I have seen in quite a while. I think his testimony can be received in two different ways. You know, on the one hand, he's an admitted liar, you know, and he's an admitted thief who stole from very needy people. Someone was, you know, quadriplegic. The other person was elderly. There are a lot of reasons not to believe him. And I think that makes him a question mark. But that's countered by the fact that he testifies very confidently. He is very strong in his position. He does not waver. He answers every question thoughtfully. I haven't yet seen him get tripped up. You know, of course, I have not watched every moment of his testimony. Maybe there are some issues that I may have missed. And I compare that to a lot of the reasonable doubt that exists in this case. You know, it's not like we have this guy that maybe you could believe him, maybe you can't believe him, and the prosecution has this solid case, because they don't. They have issues with the GSR. They have issues with a crime scene that was not secured and people were walking in and out. You know, there was no blood spatter found. You know, there's no eyewitnesses. There's no surveillance video. There's no confession. You think of all the things that make for a good conviction, and they're just not here. So if he's a question mark, I say the tie goes to the runner. This should either be an acquittal or a guilty on a lesser included offense, if that's what the defense asks for.
Because at the end of the day, the jurors are going to be asking themselves, well, we know he's a liar. He's admitted to lying. He's admitted to fraud. But is that enough to be a murderer? In fact, a double murderer when considering the wife and killing his own son there, as he's accused of doing there. So that is what the jurors are going to be really questioned about. And when they get the case there, they'll be thinking about that. But as you said there, so you're saying right as of right now, from what you are seeing, that it's not looking too good for the state?
Look, I have strong suspicion that he might be guilty, but that's not the legal standard. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. And the prosecution, based on what I have seen, just has not met its burden. And until they meet that burden, it's a no-go. It's just simply a no-go. You know, and that's my problem with this. You know, if there was better evidence, and by the way, there's a major issue here that a lot of people are overlooking. Listen to what you said, the evidence of the financial crimes, okay? Respectfully, I disagreed with Judge Newman's ruling allowing that evidence in, even though it does possibly go to some bizarre theory of motive that I don't believe the prosecution's distraction theory, but it's more prejudicial than it is probative, because it tells the jury, convict this guy of murder because he's an admitted thief. And that's just not how our system of law works. And, you know, look, if he's convicted on it, I think there's going to be very strong grounds for appeal, especially in light of these other problems.
And Brian, as we were watching this together just moments ago there during the trial, they were replaying when he was being interviewed by the investigator. From the look of it, you know, as we could see just how emotional Alex Murdaugh was during that, to me, it almost seemed like it was playing to the defense there, because you just saw how emotional he was there. Why do you think they wanted to play that video out again and try to showcase some more lies?
So I find that prosecutors look at their case oftentimes very myopically, you know, almost with the blinders on. I'm not saying that's what this prosecutor's doing, but I think they fail to see the bigger picture here. You know, it's not like there's zero evidence. It's not a question, you know, did he lie? It's a question of, did he murder these two people? And it just isn't jiving. It's just not coming together. I understand that he's a liar. You know, I wouldn't trust this guy further than I could throw him. But when you compare that to the other problems in the case, it equals not guilty.
Yeah, and that is exactly what the jurors are going to be asking themselves too. And now let's also talk about this role here as well. We're seeing Alex Murdaugh, like you said earlier, just very composed there on the stand, not getting too irrational there with the prosecution. But on the other hand, we're seeing the prosecution, the state, they seem to get jumbled up sometimes and maybe get a little, upset at times as well. At Alex, how does that play with the jury?
So it depends on the jurors. This is all a matter of perspective. A juror may look at this, if they're just someone who always sides with law enforcement, always sides with the prosecution, it's not going to matter what the testimony is or how the question's asked. But if you're truly objective, I'm watching this prosecutor ask the same question different ways, and he keeps getting the same answer. I know he's trying to get Murdaugh to say something that helps his case, but that's just not the situation. He's not getting the answers he wants, and you can hear the frustration. And I got to tell you, something that's a turnoff to me is the aggressiveness. The idea of these old school aggressive prosecutors who are angry and yelling, I just don't think it reflects the contemporary perspective that people have on law enforcement. I think if this prosecutor was more of like a tour guide through the evidence, this is what we have, and I have questions for you. But making it into an argument and a fight, I think that's so old generation. That's just not the way to try a case now. I don't think that's how the community wants to receive evidence and make a decision. It just makes him look like he's trying to get this guy.
Yeah, you're right, and we're just about one hand on the desk there away from a very typical moment that you would see maybe on old movie shows about prosecutors slamming their hand on the desk there and demanding there from the witness on the stand. But let's also talk about the framing there that we saw yesterday from the defense when they brought up Alex there and really trying to frame him as this family man. And then also going into how Alex talks about his son Paul there as Pawpaw, and then we were hearing from prosecution asking him, well, did you always call him Pawpaw, or are you just saying that right now on the stand?
Again, that's another attempt to disparage him. I don't see how that moves the needle. I mean, honestly, who really cares what he called his son? It doesn't make a difference. That doesn't tell me whether or not he murdered his other son and murdered his wife. So much of this prosecution's case is about attacking his character. He's a financial criminal. He's an insurance scammer. He took money from a quadriplegic person. He took money from an elderly person. Okay, if he was on trial for those things, we'd be convicting him. But it doesn't tell me anything about murder. Now, the line definitely goes to a question about the believability of Mr. Murdaugh's testimony. No doubt, absolutely. But I don't think it wins the day because it just makes Murdaugh a question mark. It doesn't prove unequivocally that he is lying right now, because the truth is he could be a financial criminal and not be a murderer, as most financial criminals are. Typically, financial criminals are nonviolent, okay? This would be an aberration to that. And it's just not coming together to me. I'm not believing the motive, and I'm very bothered by the lack of evidence in this case and the conflicts in the evidence.
And as a lawyer there, and we see Alex Murdaugh there on the stand, when he's looking at the jury, give us a sense of what he is looking for in the jury himself as a witness there on the stand, but also as a former lawyer, to try to maybe pinpoint some areas that are making reason with the jury. And can he see that all in real time?
Okay, so this is a very good issue. All right. Everyone wants to make a big deal that he's a lawyer. Okay. Guess what? The prosecutor's also a lawyer. And you know what? Every single law enforcement witness that took the stand went to school and was trained how to testify. Okay. Preparing your testimony and teaching a client, for instance, make sure you make eye contact. Let the prosecutor ask his entire question before answering. Answer the question that you're being asked. Yes, I'm sure these are things that are going through his head. That's what he would know as an attorney. That's what his lawyers would tell him to do. But again, I make nothing of that. It's not normal to take the stand and testify to a jury of people when your life is on the line. You know, that's an experience almost nobody has. And the few people that have had that experience, it's the first and only time they do it. You know, so prosecutors love making a big issue of this type of thing. But frankly, I find it to be dishonest because nobody has more training in testifying than law enforcement.
Absolutely. And what do you think, Brian, during this break here, for this lunch break, what do you think the state is going to be thinking about coming out of after break here and as they discuss this? And do you think deep down that they feel that this case is going in their direction?
Who knows? I can't speak to that. But if I look at how they conducted the case, you know, you can kind of reverse engineer it. A prosecutor that's got a very good case that he really truly believes in is not going to run the risk of an appeal by admitting character evidence. Okay, you're not going to make a big focus of your trial other crimes that the person did. You know, of course, the lies, you know, that is certainly relevant. But I feel that the prosecution has made such a big deal of these other things. It tells me as a practitioner that it's really like a smokescreen. They're trying to put the emphasis where they're strongest, and where they're strongest is on his financial crimes. It's not on the evidence of murder. So to me, as a professional, I take it as a distraction. You know, certainly I question the believability of his testimony. In my mind, he's a question mark. But, you know, the prosecution has its own issues.
Brian Silber, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox and giving us your analysis here as we've been watching for the last 2 days there. Alex Murdaugh there on the stand. We always appreciate it here on Live Now from Fox, and we thank you for your time right here.
Thank you.